welcome to yet another interesting edition of The Verdict. Your host, I'm Patrick Soko, and today on the program, we are going to be featuring the Alliance for Community Action Executive Director, Lola Miti. Our topic of discussion is themed Civil Society Election Watch. Our dear viewers, you'll be able to participate on the program later on by dialing the numbers that will be scrolling on your screens to add your contributions. Welcome to the program, madam.
Thank you very much.
We are glad that you could find time to be part of this program.
I'm glad that you could have me.
Thank you. Well, now the verdict is a governance issues where we discuss a number of issues pertaining to national governance. And this election year, a number of issues will be brought on this platform so that we can discuss elections. And today, the Alliance for Community Action will help us advance this agenda further on with our topic of discussion regarding the law of civil society organization and vis-a-vis the holding of elections. They will be giving us a number of aspects, considering the fact that they are part of those civil society organizations that have been actively involved in as far as governance and advocacy is concerned. Now, tell us about the initiative by the Civil Society Campaign for credible general elections ahead of the August 12 general elections.
Well, as civil society organizations, we have an understanding that the very life of the country depends on its ability to hold credible elections, because it is through elections that we as citizens give power to a set of people or to a political party that will run the country for a period of time. Unless citizens are assured or convince themselves that those who hold power are there credibly, are there as a reflection of their choice, then countries degenerate into unrest, they degenerate into war. So you can say that when we say Zambia is a peaceful country, when we say Zambia has enjoyed stability for the last 57 years, essentially it is because Zambians have understood that those who run the country have done so because of their mandate. And so as civil society, we understand that all our work is underpinned by the fact that we are a democracy, and in this democracy, citizens choose who's going to govern them.
Yes, interesting. But I also want to understand, just based on your area response, what role are you going to be playing, especially as the Alliance for Community Action in this election, so that are you going to be undertaking some awareness campaigns where you engage the voters, where you also sensitize them on their right to vote, besides your response you've provided?
Well, the ACA is going to continue what it's been doing, I think, for the last 5 years. And our work is generally predicated on the cycle of voting. So we say to people right through the cycle of voting that as citizens, our role in governance is first of all to vote, which is to choose who is going to govern us. And then, most importantly, to hold them to account, to make sure that they are running the country in our best interests. So we as the ACA will continue to speak to citizens that it is important to vote. Not just as an academic exercise, but to choose people, to choose a political party, to choose individuals, to choose the president, to choose MPs, to choose councillors, who we believe will improve our lives, who we believe will advance the good of the country. So as the ACA, this is our message to people. And it's a message that we've been carrying out in the last 5 years. So when we go out into the communities, this is what we say to people, that vote, you must make sure that you vote. And after you vote, you must make sure that whoever you choose to vote for, you hold to account. So we will not tell people, and it's not anybody's duty or right for that matter, to say to a community, this is who you must vote for. But we say to people, this is what you must vote for. This is why you must vote. And what we say is that you must vote for your lives. You must vote for water. You must vote for improved lives. You must vote against what you don't like in the country, the way the country is run. You must vote for what you believe you want. And that is what the vote is. So as a citizen, I think your greatest power lies in the fact that you hold a vote.
We understand there's actually no agreed definition in as far as the aspect of free and fair or credible elections is concerned. But based on your experience, would want to get your perspective on what would constitute free and fair elections, just by minimum, probably meeting the minimum standards.
I think minimum is that everybody who wants to vote should be able to vote. So we start off, like in our case, with the voters' roll. Everybody who wants to be on the voters' roll and tries to get onto that voters' roll should be on the voters' roll. Then they should vote. They should be allowed to vote, and then their vote should count. That's on the side of voters. On the other side, all those contesting should have a level playing field. So it should be equal ground. We should not have some candidates or some political parties having more access maybe to media space, or just an unfair advantage in the electoral conversation. So our multi-party democracy means that citizens should have the right to hear from every candidate and every political party and make a decision that is not forced, that is not bribed, and ultimately that those that wanted to vote must vote and their vote must count.
And the Alliance for Community Action and other civil society organizations have been discussing the idea of elections being an accountability event. Now, what is meant by that idea?
Well, elections are the ultimate accountability event. You see, when we go to elections, we are doing one of two things. We are either rewarding the sitting party, so the ruling party. We are saying to ourselves, we like the way the ruling party has run the country. I like the way my life is. I believe that this political party or this president or this individuals, really, it's both individuals or parties. So it's either the ruling party or the individual. So it can be your independent MP, for example. It can be your independent councillor or the president or the party. And just saying you like the way it is. If you like the way the country is, if you like the way your MP has performed, you reward them. And so you give them the vote. Or else you are punishing them. If you are punishing them, it means you do not like them. Therefore, you are replacing them with someone else that you think will improve your lives. So in terms of accountability, what it means is when we vote in one set of elections. So let's say we voted in 2016. Mm-hmm. We were buying something. We should have been buying something. So as a voter, what are you buying? What is it that bothers you the most? Is it, do you want improved education? Do you want improved economy? Do you want the economy to stay the way it is? Do you want it not to degenerate? Do you want peace? That which you bought should be in the back of your mind. It becomes an accountability event because when you go to the next election, you're checking out. I like. Majority, I've got it. Therefore, status quo. I don't like. I'm changing the situation. So what we do in an election is both buy for the future, but also look back and hold to account those who've run the country.
Interesting. But how do we help our voters understand? Have you done an analysis of the issues being advanced by the sitting government vis-a-vis the opposition? To say the political party manifestos. How popularized are these political manifestos based on your experience with the people you interact with, especially in rural areas of this country?
You see, my sense that it's not even really about the manifesto. It should be, but our country, our politics are so base that maybe you have so many, a large part of the country that probably cannot read our manifestos or access them. But we have living manifestos. And the living manifesto of the ruling party is the way they've run the country in the last 5 years. It's a living manifesto. And they can say, they are able to stand on the podium and say, vote for us because we've done A, B, C. That should be the message of the ruling party. You see, so and the people should be able to hear and say, yes, I agree. I like the way you've run education. I like the way you've delivered water. I like the way you've dealt with violence. I like the way you've given me my rights. You've facilitated my rights. I like the way you've my ability to pay for my livelihoods prices. Okay, that's a living manifesto. On the other side, the good thing with being an opposition party is actually you are more able to say, I will. And nobody can really argue with you. You see, it's more promise. You know, it's a case of a man saying, it's a case of a man saying to a woman, kind of thing. Yes. You see what I mean?
Yes,
and very different with a man in marriage trying to get a woman back. You see, like kind of very, very different. So with the ruling party, a ruling party has both advantage and disadvantage. It has the advantage of incumbency. Incumbency just means that you have certain advantages that are not even unfair. They are just advantages. You are the president. You will continue to have security. You will continue to campaign on the basis of public funds because you are the president. Okay, so that's an advantage. That's why you are the ruling party. You can't argue about that. But you also have the disadvantage in that you can't be making promises anymore. You have to defend your record. All right, you have to say, I have done this for you, therefore keep me in power because you're happy. Opposition, on the other hand, has the disadvantage, of course, in that it's in this weaker position in that, of course, if it's a country like Zambia, they will not get onto the embassy, which is wrong. But essentially, they just have this weaker position. They don't have that incumbency. Mm-hmm. But they have the advantage in that theirs is fully promised. Mm-hmm. So what they need to do is be able to understand what the people want. They need to be able to articulate the problems of the people. If I'm going to an area in which their biggest problem is the lack of a road, and I'm busy talking about maybe a school, which, while it's a distance, that's not what really matters to the people. That's a problem. Mm-hmm. You see, so the opposition parties should be able to understand what is it that's bothering Zambians the most right now, one. They should be able to identify that, and then they should also be able to say, how is it that giving them power will change that? Because we do not want to give anybody power for the sake of giving them power, so that in these big cars. That's not why we choose a government. We choose a government to improve the lives of citizens, especially the poorest among us. So if you're an opposition party, you should be able to say, what will you do about the issues that are affecting Zambians the most?
Interesting. Well, our dear viewers, in case you're just joining us, we are discussing election issues, and my guest on the program is coming from the Alliance for Community Action, and she's the Executive Director, Ms. Lola Miti. You'll also be able to participate on the program by dialing the numbers that are scrolling on your screens to join the conversation. You can also follow us on our Facebook to add your comment there on this topic of discussion. Well, getting into the nitty-gritties of the issues, there's another point based on your preamble. You talked about political parties and understanding the desires of the electorate. I also want to find out, based on your assessment as an organization, the Zambian electorate, what are some of the desires they have going into this election that they would want to be addressed?
I can only speak about our experience. We carry out a lot of workshops and trainings, both in the urban areas, informal areas within the urban areas, but also deep in the rural areas. And one of the things that we do every time we have a workshop, in order to go on, the starting point is asking people to set out the 5 issues that affect them the most as a community, and maybe the one thing that they like the most. You go to different areas, you find different things. But one thing we've found is that on every list, there's water. Zambians are really battling with water. You know, it is in the rural areas, it is the distances they go to get the water, the quality of the water. But, you know, talk about sharing water with animals. It's a big, big issue. There is lack of medicines in hospitals. Everywhere you go. So if you look at the list, you will find that they'll say water, they'll say lack of medicines in hospitals, they'll talk about inputs, agricultural inputs, they'll talk about the schools, either the shortage of schools or the issue of class sizes. Of course, there's the big issue of now increasing this prices, unemployment. Okay, they'll talk about unemployment, and shockingly, crime has become a big issue in the villages, which we never used to see before. But I guess it is the level of unemployment and poverty. So you hear about stealing of goats and that kind of thing. Feeder roads. Feeder roads are big. I would say, speaking from our experience in the communities, is that Zambians' lives, everyday lives, are just hard. So there are higher level things about ideology. What do we think about the world and that kind of thing? Zambians cannot afford to think about that right now. Unfortunately, for a country that is reaching 57 years old, it's very sad that you're still talking about the very, very basic things. The more rural you go, the more shocking it is to find that there is just basic hunger. Our poverty is defined by hunger. People cannot feed themselves. People go to clinics where there's no medicine, or maybe there are no trained staff. Teachers are staying in dilapidated houses. Essentially, what we're finding as the ACA is that in order to improve Zambia, governments need to start talking about improving the lives of Zambians starting from the bottom. We need to deal with the poor. We need to deal with what's happening in Kanyama. We need to deal with what's happening in Mufumbo, in the rural areas. We need to stop dealing with issues for Kablonga Riverside, which is what government after government has done. You see, so we kind of cut this country. And so you come into Lusaka. I'm going to be very honest. I really dislike the flyover bridges in Lusaka.
Why?
It is that I love driving over them, no question. But I'm always aware that one flyover bridge in Lusaka could have dealt with all the feeder roads across the country. And you sit and you listen to these old people talking about Imisevo, Migwagwa, everywhere you go. And what they're saying is, if you just graded, a feeder road needs a grader. They're not asking for tar. They're asking for a grader. If you graded the feeder roads, you change lives, because when they then harvest their maize, they can take it to market. Right now, the poor and the rural people are unable to take their crops to market. We, in town, take our big trucks deep there, we can go over those bad roads, and we buy their maize for 50 kwacha and come back here and make a profit. We don't actually need to farm. So it is issues like that. You have children. We talk about early marriages. Early marriages are not a problem. The problem is poverty. You see, I'm always asking the questions that ACA, when you have a conversation, we have questions. When did you last hear of a child who lives in Kablonga who got married at age 14?
No circumstances.
Yes, in fact, never.
Never.
When did you last hear of a child who lives in Riverside who didn't finish grade 12?
Nah.
Exactly. No. So why are the poor the ones who are marrying early? Is it because the children of the well-to-do, they are moral? You see, so it's a question of poverty. So when you ask me about what is needed in this country, what we need is to target the poor. Because when we lift the conditions of the poor, if you give people a basic road, a school that functions, and the clinic and the agriculture in the rural areas, you will actually also change the lives of those in Kablonga and North Mid. Do you know why? Because when all of us living a little bit higher have this set of people who we actually dislike and talk very badly of, who give us every morning a phone call. If my poor relative is able to buy their carpenter that day, that's one phone call less to me. And that's money saved for me. You cannot change the bottom without changing the top. So essentially, I would say that what government needs to deal with in this country is the economy, is unemployment, is services that targets the poor.
That brings me to another interesting topic, sustainable development goals. We talk about the goal on ending hunger should be goal number 2 and ending poverty number 1. Those, how would you rate the performance of government in terms of addressing those critical goals, sustainable development goals?
Almost zero. You see, what has happened, okay, in the last few months, money is being given out in social cash transfer, but from where I sit, it's more like a campaign gimmick. But when you go into the village, you find so many people saying, "Kale indalama shaisa," you know, drama cities one. So our poverty, you know, our poverty is hunger determined. That is the tragedy of this country. You know, there are other countries where people are poor but they can eat. So when they're talking about poor, they're talking about maybe their housing, they're talking about other issues. For us, even those that are so-called well-to-do, too much of our money, too high a percentage of our salaries goes to keeping body and soul together, goes to buying food. So in terms of our sustainable development goals, the number of Zambians that are plain hungry or else are not having enough nourishing food is shocking. Okay, so when you're going to end hunger, you're going to end poverty. It is something that I wish those who are campaigning, both ruling party and opposition, would break down. Not broad strokes. When we come into power, you'll have employment. How? Where are you going to start? How are you going to reduce this level of desperation among the youth to get jobs? What are you going to do about agriculture? You see, the problem we have in Zambia is not so much that we do not have the resources, it's that we have very, very weak prioritization. So like I say, rather than build all these flyover bridges in Lusaka, if we had taken a good part, in fact, a percentage of that money and taken it to all the feeder roads in the country, it would be a big difference in agriculture. It would be a big difference in commerce in the rural areas. So our prioritization is very, very poor. If we give the poor water, they stop spending hours on end looking for water. And a girl living in a home in which they have their inputs, they can eat. There's a school, and the school doesn't even have to be fancy. It can even be a mud structure, but there's a teacher in that school. And they are not 120, there are 50 of them. This girl goes to school. When she goes home, there's food. That food can be shima and beans, not even nkoko, but every day mwana akuja. She won't get married. Neither will her parents marry her off. So what we are saying as the ACA is let's direct money to improving lives. Let's collect our resources and then stop taking all the resources of the country to take care of, first of all, the well-to-do, and then, of course, a small, minuscule part of those that run the country.
Then do you think the handout culture has helped us much as a country in terms of we claim to deliver empowerment? Has that helped us based on your assessment? And we are seeing it, especially during this election time. What's
empowerment? You don't empower individuals, you empower communities. You see, you need to build a school. Sink a borehole, build a feeder road, make sure there is medicine in the school, make sure, medicine is in the clinic, make sure there's a teacher. That community is now empowered. Bring electricity to Chongwe here, Rufunsa here. Rufunsa is now empowered. But if you empower Mr. Soko, himself alone, 300,000, kaimbe nyimbo, kind of thing, that's you, that's your money. You can't change a country by giving out handouts to people who can do whatever they want with that money. You see, and if you talk about empowerment, there's this idea that young people should be entrepreneurs. You know, you even hear people who are not employed or themselves employed saying people should be entrepreneur. Entrepreneur, but who's going to buy when the economy is so depressed? So ask the people in business and see if they're actually making money. So the problem we have in Zambia, for example, is even the business environment is so corrupt. The biggest buyer is probably government. You will not be able to sell to government. What you want is to ensure that the large part of citizens are able to access the services that improve them as whole human beings. They get an education. They don't die from treatable diseases. They have basic water. And we say basic water is not a tap, even a hand pump. For 10 families, 20 families, that's enough. Not 0.4 wauka bantu. Basakira manzi. Nayo manzi bavala pa 0.6. So children, I live in an area in which the people in the township close to us, you see them walking the whole day. Children who should be at school. Those are the issues we should deal with. Because when you deal with these basic issues, the basic fundamentals in people's lives, something then changes. So no, it is not the role of government to distribute money. It is the role of government to change the services and to ensure that whole communities can be lifted. And lifting communities is not by giving cadres money or giving councillors money or giving churches money. Because when you give money to the church, pastor bakudia, bagula motoka ya nyuna suppose white is new. You see, so it is not. That's not where.
Why not the blue shoes?
Okay, and they like these white shoes. You know, white shoes like a shade so whatever. You know, kind of thing. Exactly. Now my chairs yeah way at you. That's where these monies go. How can that be called empowerment? If that's some money that we've given churches, sunk just boreholes at a, you know, proper boreholes at a depth where they will not dry in summer, and people know they can get water. People know they can get their inputs on time. Over time, the economy grows. When people can go to school and get jobs, money should go to industry. If you're going to want to empower, why not empower? You know, these young men on Ali Kinkata Road. You know, I always look at them and say, you want to empower? Open a yard, a big yard, which is serviced. Bring them all there, where we all go and buy our gates. Okay? It is serviced, it is safe, there's electricity, my lights here, both my wake up. And you create a situation in which there's apprenticeship. They are teaching each other. Do you know how much that can be a whole economy? We can begin to export gates because they're teaching themselves. You know that, but it is difficult. It's unsafe environment on the side of the road. Nobody teaches them basic business principles. So, if you say that the empowerment government had put money together and opened an industrial yard where all the welders are, and we are all going to buy gates. Do you know that Kalingalinga will change? All the townships will change. You see, but we are thinking that we are going to give the chief cadre in Kalingalinga 500,000 kwacha and say we've empowered him. Or we've empowered Kalingalinga. No, we have not empowered anybody. All we've done is introduce, one, corruption, two, a sense, teaching people that you can gain wealth without working. This is an end money. An end money just raises, one, inflation, two, corruption, and the sense of entitlement in a community.
Well, our dear viewers, you are watching The Verdict. And my guest on the program is coming from the Alliance for Community Action, Ms. Lola Miti. We are discussing the civil society and election watch. And they are among stakeholders who are actually monitoring these elections on various aspects. Therefore, we'll just take a short break and we'll be back shortly. Stay tuned.
Hello, I'm Deborah Lukalu, all the way from South Africa. You are watching Camnet Channel, not just another channel. God bless you. Stay tuned.
We celebrate for all you've done. Lord, we give you all the praise. Oh, we testify. We celebrate for all you've done. Lord, we give you all the praise.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying tuned. We are discussing election issues, and my guest on the program is coming from the Alliance for Community Action, Ms. Lola Miti. She's the executive director there. Our dear viewers, you can also participate on the program in case you want to contribute to what we are discussing. Now, in this year's election, Madam, we have seen a number of political parties coming on board. We have 19, it should be, is it 16 political candidates. Now, does that give a good picture in terms of who to vote for based on your assessment? Is it a good arrangement, or we need to lessen the number of political parties?
No, we don't need to lessen the political parties, but the truth is there are only two. We all know there are only two. One of the top two is going to win, but I think what happens is usually parties start small and over time do grow. So there's nothing wrong with the party. I mean, out of the 16, the 16th who are now might be the party in power 10 years from now. So the, politics, I think, is about growing. What I wonder, personally, is why some of these presidents don't stand for parliament. Because if some of these presidents went into parliament while still running their parties and spent a term in parliament, was term on two, they would very easily build themselves, maybe not easily, but it would be easier for them to build themselves, one. But secondly, the quality of debate in parliament would really improve. You see, so there are members of, there are presidential candidates who will not win the presidency. We all know, you don't have to be a prophet. And so maybe if some of them would go, we know they are party presidents, but instead stand for parliament. But then it is really their democratic choice.
First of all, how would you describe the rural voter? Because others think, no, we can take advantage of the rural vote. Maybe these people do not care about the economic status or social status of this country. Based on your assessment and experience as Alliance for Community Action, who is the rural voter, and do they really have a say on this election?
Of course they do have a say. I always get...
But are they able to make an informed decision?
And why not? You know, I'm always amazed at how we insult the rural voter as well as the poor voter. You know, if on my page people come and say, yes, and the poor will still vote for this, or the poor are voted this way. Who changed governments 3 times over? Who voted in 1991? Wasn't it the rural voter and, exactly. the poor? Who voted in who stopped the third term bid of President Chilulu?
Yes.
Who voted in 2011? Yeah, you see, the difference is, the reason why we are now insulting the rural voter and the poor voter is because the middle class are feeling the pain of the economy. They're feeling the pain, so they start blaming others. When this country votes and decides either to change a political party or bring in a government, it's always everybody. You cannot bring in a new government without...
So don't you thought we have a caller? Hello, you are through to Camnet TV. May we have your name and where you are calling us from? Well, you can go ahead with your contribution, sir.
Yes, I just want to talk about the Bazan, where we are doing fine. We are doing fine in Mexico. If you are told to come to Russia, to go and you see the road that you have, that is that's what the commission has wanted up to the roundabout before you to go to the road. The road that you have, I don't know. But the concentration we have just to pass. So that is what I wanted to happen.
Thank you for your contribution, sir. Well, that issue speaks to the issues of development inequalities. Well, you will tackle it as you respond to...
Okay, so yes, maybe I can link it to that. So exactly. You want the rural voter to vote for you while you build yourself flyover bridges. Steph, you build yourself flyover bridges, you build yourself an airport you don't need, you build yourself airports everywhere. But the rural voter who has no water, has no feeder road, has no clinic, must be informed to vote so that you can build another airport and build other flyover bridges. Lusaka is a pest. You know, it's like a tick on the dog called Zambia. Because we suck the blood of the country. Like the caller is saying, just drive out of Lusaka and see how bad the roads are and see how bad the facilities are. But we have this Lusaka-centric view.
We have another caller. Just hold on to your thought. Hello, you are through to Camnet TV. May we have your name and where you're calling us from?
This is Mr. Kapole calling within Lusaka.
Okay, sir, you can go ahead with your contribution.
Yeah, I'm just following the program. Yeah, the rest is addressing issues, looking at what we are going through as a country. Yeah, this one issue she talked about, the Kalingalinga issue, was to say that the government needs to take certain issues positively, such as putting those people in one area where they can probably help those guys who are doing loading and so on and so forth. Yeah, it's just like when we look at the people who are doing maintenance for things like in Rwanda Road, I'm sure you know Rwanda Road somewhere there, where people have involved themselves in panel beating of vehicles. And I look at it in this manner. If the government can put up a structure for them where they can put them in one area and contribute money, probably buying equipment and so on and so forth for them, I'm sure that would help a community achieve putting those contributions. Thank you.
Thank you for your contribution, sir. Well, another caller just agreeing with your area thoughts regarding the Kalingalinga arrangement. Then you can proceed. I interrupted
yes.
you.
So I was saying that we are Lusaka centric, and it is Upper Mwamba Lusaka, even. Go to Kanyama, go to Chiwolia, go to the informal settlements, go to Mtendere and see how they struggle with water. So even in Lusaka, it is a very small group of people that benefit from so-called development. Then we go and say rural people are not informed. It is, I keep saying this, it is the rural and poor people that stand and vote. But when people come into power, they forget about them and use them only as sources of the vote after 5 years. It's a long time since we had a government that says, how will we make sure that a child born in Kanyama or a child born in Mwense, a child born in Mwasa Wombwe, has equal chance of getting to grade 12 because they've got a functional school. A functional school is not fancy. It's not computers. It is the teacher is there every single day. They have books, chalk. That's all. But we let these children who are going 120 to a class, the teacher comes when they choose. There are no books. To write the same exam with my child who goes to a school like Lake Road, who goes to a private school, the same exam, the same pass mark. Then we say these ones, no, they don't vote right. They are not informed. Well, we are not informing them, you see. So talking about what the caller has said, exactly. If we are going to empower this country, we have to empower groups of people. You see, if the government took the money it gave the musicians and gave the panel beaters, now then you can talk about entrepreneurship. Not entrepreneurship, your kambachabe. You see, people work in very unsafe environments. We are all crowding the streets. We are crowding vendors are crowding the streets because we just do not have the facilities. I always laugh when people say Zambians are lazy. We, the middle classes who work in offices, are lazy. But wake up at 4 on any single day and drive in any township and see how many people are already awake, already going to the market, already setting up their stands. If we gave them just the minimum support, real support, not that we've given out loans. You're giving out loans to empowerment at the market. You're choosing those from the ruling party. Why? You see, if someone from an opposition party creates jobs, and to those jobs that add up to happiness within the country. So we are undereducating our people. Most of them are unable to read and write as well as their own parents could at the same level. Okay, we are not giving them the skills. We've killed trade schools, we've killed colleges. It's impossible to go into tertiary education because it has become so expensive. That is where you put the money. You put the money in changing a demography. Look at the issue of students. Money is being taken, is now being deducted from those who went through UNZA. Where does this money go? Because you've cut off the number of students who can get meal allowances. Now, when you cut off meal allowances, you're not cutting off my child. I will make a plan. You're not taking off your child. They will make a plan. We are cutting off the 6-pointer who can now not come to university. So what I am saying is, when we hear in this election, can we hear what's going to happen to all these students who got 6.7 points who are able to come to university because they have no meal allowances? We're not saying that the meal allowances should come for free. Already, let's make the loan a real loan. When money is paid back, it should not go off into campaigns and I don't know where the money goes. We should make sure the money goes right back to students. You see, I've seen young people in provinces. This child got the highest mark at a school, the highest mark in the district, but because they are poor, they do not go to school. How can you expect as a country to develop when you're not accessing or you're not supporting your best minds? So again, what you're saying is that when you're running a country is a thought process. You must identify what the major issues are. And you must start with the poorest and the weakest. Those are the ones who need government. Now, we seem to run government for... You run government for ministers. You run government for MPs. You run government for cadres. They're the ones who are getting the mukula. They're the ones who are getting the contracts. They're the ones who are getting everything. The people at the bottom are forgotten. No, it's like in a home. You don't feed the umusepela who's 16 before the baby. If you're creating a life chair. But if the food is little, you feed these ones. Because this one, yes, this young man will make a plan. Maybe he'll go to his friend's house, isn't it? Exactly. And eat something. In Zambia, we feed the older children before we feed the baby. But if you don't feed the baby dies. They have no other place to go to. It is the poor who need government. It is the rural people who need government. They're the ones who we should, a government should look. And when you look at our national budget, our budget has reduced money on the social sector. The social sector, which is healthcare, social cash transfers, except in this election year, education. When you reduce money there, you are reducing it for the poor because the rich go to private hospitals.
Hello, you are through to Camnet TV. Hello, you are through. You can give us your name and where you are calling us from.
Okay, that's me. Kurwansha. Nevo station.
Vachireshe kuti muwatwarikisha.
Empa yawe hii program na twasamira kwesi sana. Wami tuonela ndesintu itio wasamisha kwa tatwashwa. Containing na sensitization ya voters history mind check. Ngamaisa kuna Kurwansha. Especially among no less than a few priva meeting. Javati, Mishi, Bapani Recolo, Javati, Ifisi, the Vanturaya, Baskidisha, to accountability power. Because Vanatura required by election, Kunokuruasha, the power of Vastakonancy. So therefore, lawyer kwewati ndabalande sinto ndabapanga promise yeyaine kwebale kwako twasaina no kusaina para tena ndiba ndamufikirishe twasaina twa accountability twa mkunyako munduya dan wale twanga enough is enough twasura sana especially by you no employment tapati pesa kunokuruansha mai nina bomba bakaba chapao kwa bakora. So bakristo bali kumwe bako ma organization mwaturasirako. That's okay.
Thank you for your contribution, sir. Well, you heard that caller
Yes,
there.
I heard that.
And he's just lamenting his experiences in Luansha. Yeah, you can proceed.
So in terms of accountability, the biggest accountability, like I said, is the vote. Abantu ngalaba milaya ero bakana nokufikirisha. Next time vote, it's your power. That is the greatest vote as a citizen. You see, but because ilingi to vote muma line, mwatwabati inende vote PF, inende vote UPND. Ngandi mgu UPND nichfani diku strong ya UPND kunacha fie fio sefe ndefo ya nangu ninfikirisha nangu shifikirisha ifo ndefo ya kalabashita adopt. What we need is for citizens to come together and say we are voting for ourselves. Even if this is your stronghold, you will not win. You see, so Kuluwansha, what you're saying is that if what you promised us does not come, then you will not get the vote. But it's not only because of maybe the by-election. Generally, you have a country that you have a government that is not looking across board. Because some of the things that are blamed on MPs are actually for central government. It is central government that must share the national cake and say, this province, this province, this province, this district, this district, this district. Right now, you have a government of the Republic of Lusaka. Money goes to Lusaka. And you forget about people in the provinces. And sometimes MPs take the flak for what they cannot do. MP takwatendalama. The most that MP has is CDF. CDF, we need to ask these MPs. Because if CDF, even if itself was well used, in 5 years, 1.6 million every year in each constituency, each ward, something would change. In the to the things that are actually required. Yes. But when it comes to Kapiriposhi Nakonde Road. You know, the Kapiriposhi Nakonde Road is shocking. And what is most shocking, for example, is Nakonde itself. Every hour, how much money comes through Nakonde? Every hour. Forget every day. But you go to Nakonde, it's unbelievable how broken that town is. Why? Why would we do Long Acres flyover bridge before Kapiriposhi Nakonde? Can you explain to me? Because this is a link road. Why would we do Makeni Road before finishing the Juo carriageway? So in Zambia, the most important roads are the link roads. We must have the link roads done. So Kapiriposhi Nakonde is one of the most important roads. As other the link roads. After the link roads, the most important roads are the feeder roads. Then we come and decorate Lusaka. So I'm not saying don't decorate Lusaka. What I'm saying is do not start by decorating Lusaka. That does not improve the lives of the majority citizens. That does not improve the economy. The economy is improved by the link roads, you see. So we citizens need to understand that abantu abekala outside Lusaka, tamuli abana bakusanga mo. You're not stepchildren. That's how Zambia is run. It's run as if Lusaka are the children, the rest are stepchildren. But the stepchildren keep giving the vote to politicians. They do not ask questions. All they do is think their children, the children growing up in Lundazi right now, are saying, in a one day, Lusaka, you can't run a country like that, where the whole country, all the young people want to come to the center. If you improved Lundazi, they have schools, they have basic jobs, you know, they have their water. They won't want to come to Lusaka. Of course, some will want to come, but you'll have people staying there. But the way we are running the country is everybody wants to come. And then that's why we have this pressure on land in Lusaka. The pressure on land in Lusaka is not only because of PF Kata violence. It's because the whole country wants to come to Lusaka. Now Lusaka within Lusaka. Because nobody wants to go on the outskirts of Lusaka. Because again, even there, we are not developing it. We are developing the center. You see. So instead of crying about how everybody wants to live in Lusaka, make Monze a place where you want to stay. Make Mpika a place where you want to stay. Isoka, Mufumbwe, Solwezi. You see, then you have people around Northwestern Province wanting to go to Solwezi. Baku Chipata want to go to Chipata. Baku Muchinga want to go to Chinsali, because we've at least made the provincial capitals a beautiful place. But no, everything is Lusaka. You see, so we have the money, but we are not sharing it as if we are one country. We are sharing it as if we have a country that has these little subsets that nobody cares about.
Let's get into another interesting topic, interesting issue that happened last week, where the president made a pronouncement to say COVID, in the wake of the COVID-19, rallies must be minimized, and also directed the police and health authorities to pounce on those holding gatherings. But how can we strike a balance that we are addressing the COVID-19, but the free flow of information, which is another critical issue, especially in this election year, is allowed to prevail?
ZNBC. Free ZNBC. You see, I think that the reason that the rallies have been stopped is really because probably the PF is worried about the size of rallies that the opposition should have. But COVID is real. So we should not mess around with COVID. India got those COVID numbers because of campaigns and, of course, religious festivals. So the third wave is here. We should not mess with it. So I understand when the president says rallies, whatever his motivations is, whatever his own motivations were, the issue of COVID is real. But you can't say no rallies, then close ZNBC to opposition parties. You see, if every political party had the chance to go on ZNBC, your SEMA stations, the TV station, as well as the radio one, ZNBC, is it one that goes to the rural areas?
Yes,
yeah.
1 and 2.
1 and 2. So you have HH there, you have Kalaba there, you have, sorry, some of the candidates, Mazina, but everybody is there. There will be less pressure to hold these rallies. So as a president or as a ruling party, when you make a health pronouncement, you have to understand that this is an election period and these candidates must get through to the people. How are you allowing them? You can't, the two just don't go together. So what I would say to President Lungu is release your grip on ZNBC, where when you're on ZNBC, item 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is President Lungu, President Lungu, President Lungu, then who, then who, then who, then Kaya. Then if you hear anything on the opposition, it's a criticism. Allow them, even if it's paid broadcasts. Let's free the media waves. All right, and if we say there should be no rallies, why can't you allow the candidates to drive around with their loudspeakers, isn't it? So a candidate with their loudspeaker will not bring COVID. Driving through the towns without being beaten up by cadres, the people will hear the message. But I would say let's not minimize the threat of COVID.
Then your issue, there's another aspect on political violence. I know you have been on record on this issue. I want to get your perspective regarding what do you think is a long-lasting solution to this vice?
Just a president who doesn't want violence. That's all. You know the kind of power the Zambian president has as you. I've said this over and over. The only reason we have violence is because the president has refused to stop it. And the ruling party, Minister of Home Affairs. If they wanted Lelo, so they would end violence. Because the political violence in Zambia is PF violence. That's the truth. The one that affects us, we ordinary people, is PF cadre violence. They are the ones who take taxes from minibus drivers. They are the ones who get taxes from vendors. When you go to a township and say Tiyo Pamakada, they're not talking about opposition members. They are talking about political guys. So we like to have this fake dualism, you know, and pretend that there's equal opposition and ruling party violence. But more importantly, if Minister Kampyongo, when he was minister, or President Lungu wanted cadre violence to end, in one day you could have everybody with a panga disarmed. You could stop it. They would know that if they ever go out to the minibus and harass people, or if they go and attack another rally or attack a radio station, they will go to jail. Why has the president failed? The president can't be like me, Please stop, la papata stop. The whole president is papata. Who runs this whole country? So for me, the reason why violence has continued is because the president, somehow it suits him to have it.
Well, we would like to thank you for finding time to be part of the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay. Well, our dear viewers, we've come to the end of the program. We've been discussing civil society and election issues powered by the Alliance for Community Action. I've been hosting the Executive Director, Ms. Lola Miti. Well, until next time, as we come back with another interesting edition of The Verdict, this has been Patrick Soko, your usual host. Remember, ours is a platform to ask the pertinent questions so that you, the viewers, can make the verdict. Stay tuned to Camnet TV.